Hey folks, Greg Koch here on Wildwood TV. Is that crazy or what? We're with Mitch Holder, a legend of guitar wielding activity. We're here in the Gibson custom shop. I'm gonna call it a lair here at NAMM 2012. Apparently the year of our destruction, according to the Mayans.
That's right.
Do you know what the
It's
Mayans
all
did?
over.
The Mayans didn't play guitar, so as far as I'm concerned, they can go straight to Hades on their own.
Well, we'll get them playing guitar, and then the whole thing won't happen.
Exactly correct.
Yeah.
So what's happening? What's new and exciting?
Oh, what's new and exciting? Well, still playing.
Yes, sir.
Teaching, playing, and that's the name of the game.
I'm telling you what,
Picking and grinning.
your resume and your discography is a little frightening.
Oh.
I'm frightened of your powers.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, you know, you get a call and you go play.
You got to do it.
That's what you do. That's what we do.
That's right. We hunt
Right?
and we gather.
So-
We exchange musical notes for federal coupons. So tell us a little bit about your history with Gibson and the kind of guitars you prefer and that kind of stuff.
Well, my history with Gibson goes back to, actually goes back to when I first got one, my first one, which was a ES-125 thin body in 1959. And what I noticed about it, and I won't mention the guitar I had prior, but it was an El Cheapo, put it that way. It's one of the El Cheapos. And when I got the Gibson, it was like, whoa, you know, what's going on with this? It was so much, there was so much different. It was so much, it sounded better, played better.
Right.
And it was obvious there was something really big, different about them. So well, after I got the 125, this is in 1959, so I sent away for a Gibson catalog. Back then, how old was I? About 9 or 10, I think. So I wanted to see what else they made. So I put on an envelope, I said, Gibson Incorporated, Kalamazoo, Michigan, because that's all you see on the ad, that was it. Somehow it got to them, and they sent me this catalog, and it was a big, thick, it was I think at the time it was a big orange Gibson catalog, the 62 catalog, and it had everything in it. So when I opened it up, and I saw, well, there were like the guitars I had, plus the big arch top jazz guitars. I opened up to the picture with a Super 400, and I was like, it was a full page, and it was black and white, but in those days we didn't know any better. And then I saw acoustics and lap steels and banjos, and man, I said, wait a second, they make all this stuff?
Yeah.
Right? And they were the only company at the time, I might be wrong, I don't know, but I think it was the only company that really had that much of an expanded line.
Sure,
Different lines of instruments. They make fretted instruments.
Right.
So I got fascinated with all that, and what I saw was what I could afford. I had to wash a lot of cars back then, is what I did. The 335.
Right. Delicious.
I thought that would be a nice guitar to get after the 125. So my father got me the 125. He said, okay, from now on, if you want any more guitars, you got to pay for them. I said, okay. So I washed cars. I went into the store at the time. They had this was in about 62, 63. They had a cherry red, dot neck, 335 hanging on the wall, and I washed 50 million cars. So. Maybe 60, I'm not sure, but I got enough money to buy that thing. And
can I ask how much it was at the time?
I think it was like, with the case, it was around $265, somewhere around. That was a lot. It was a lot of money, you know, for a kid washing cars.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, but I bought the guitar, and again, it was like, wow.
Right.
You know, because it was even better
Right.
than the 125. So it's got cutaways. I can get up higher because I was finally learning those notes.
Sure.
So, and the sound, the whole thing. And the other thing was the way it smelled when you opened the case when it was brand new.
I know
the vapors. Lacquer. There's nothing like lacquer. Nothing.
Yep.
So, at any rate, then fast forward about '74, I got called to do the Tonight Show, the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. So at the time I was the youngest guy in the band. You know, I'm not the youngest of anything anymore. But anyway.
But you're still around.
But I'm still around, yeah. So we were traveling. You know, Doc Severinsen was the leader, and we traveled on the weekends, so we were on the road. and then we come back and do the show. So we got a gig in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Okay, so I decided I got to go out there a day or two early and see if I can take a tour. You know, so I called them up and said, yeah, come on out. So that's what started. I became an endorser at that point. Got it. And we started messing around with certain designs. I've had to build certain things, and we're working on the 3-pickup ES-357 that's called the ES-Mitch. That there's some videos on. You know, Wildwood did videos on those, so they're cool. They'll be coming along. So the custom shop is going to do a run of those. Cool. We're going to do that one.
So primarily when you were on the Johnny Carson show, you played a 335?
I played, well, I had a 355 because it turns out I like the ebony board.
Oh, okay.
More, not so much the stereo and all. I wasn't into all that, but the ebony board, I preferred those because I was getting into the arch tops and some acoustics, and they had ebony, and I like the feel of ebony. It's smoother. Somewhere when I sweat a little bit, it gets in the pores of the rosewood. So I wound up liking. I wound up liking ebony. I was too lazy to linseed the rosewood and clean it out. Oh, ebony, you don't do anything. You just play it.
Just play it. Done with it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's what I was playing at the time. So when I started having Gibson work on some other designs, at the time we were looking for more sustain, so I had him put a brass block in a 355, which I use on the show, which I still have, and it still sustains like crazy, but you can't pick it up. You know?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So you got to sit with it, but and that evolved into what they made later, the ES-347, which had the sustain. This thing had a big block in the center center piece, and it was really heavy. So they made some mounts, brass mounts for sustain that were a little less bulky and heavy, and that became the 347. Then in about 1980, everything started to change in the recording because of the digital synths that were coming out. Right. And we were all playing 335s. I was playing my 355, and the frequency that the 335 it was getting wiped out by the digital synths. So we scrambled to find another instrument. I won't say what it is, but it has 3 pickups. Right, exactly. Okay, and that cut through. Right. So I called Gibson. You know, I was on the phone immediately. I said, "You need a 3rd pickup on the 335." And they said, "What are you talking about? We can't sell them fast enough." I said, "I know, but here's the deal." And I told them, "This is coming." So they wouldn't do it. I said, "Well, will you build me one?" They said, "Sure." So they did, and I didn't want humbuckings. I wanted 3 single coils. So they put them in humbucking cases.
Got it.
Okay, so in case I decided to change, which I wound up doing, but I didn't change them all. I just changed 2 of them. So I got it. It sounded incredible. Didn't sound like that 3 pickup guitar.
But it was still thin enough to cut through.
But it cut through, but it had its own sound.
Yeah.
So when I was working with it, because only the other studio players would see it and hear it. They'd hear it, and at the time there were 3 or 4 guitar players on every session. So they come up they have baffles between us, you know, so we couldn't see each other, but we'd get up and talk, you know. Right. So anyway, I'd see these heads come over the baffle and say, "What are you playing? What is that sound?" And I'd see this guitar. What is that? You know. So the word got out, and then I decided to get a second one in case this one got stolen or broken. I better get it. Right. Well, we won't go there, but so they were going to do it, and then the guys were calling me up saying, "Well, hey, if they're going to build one, could they build another one? If they're going to build 2, can they build 3?" So I called Gibson and said, "Well, what can we do?" He said, "Well, we'll build them for whoever wants them at the time." So they made, I don't know, 6 or 7. And so the studio guys, so consequently, the only guys that really ever played them and saw them were studio players who the public really wasn't aware of it. They did a story on it, guitar player, little thing on it, but nobody saw it. You know, I've been playing it all these years, and it still has this sound that it gets, especially the front pickup and the middle pickup, which I changed the neck pickup and the bridge pickup because the engineers were a little concerned about the noise.
Oh,
if
got
I
it,
only
yeah.
had one pickup on. So I thought, well, why not put a humbucker in the front, one in the back, leave the P90, because that's what gives
Sure.
that mix, gives that kind of
Yep.
focused sound. And it worked. It worked. So now I've got a Burstbucker 2 in the neck and a 3 in the back, in the bridge, just to match the levels between the P90 that's still in there. It's the original P90 still in there, and the other one. So the one in the middle's got the screws down the center,
Got it.
and then the other two are, regular humbucker, Burstbucker.
Cool.
So stay tuned.
Oh, I
We're
will.
working
That
on it.
sounds
We're
right
working
up
on
my
it. We're working on it. So
Thanks so much. Great
yeah,
stories.
pleasure.
Pleasure
My
hanging
pleasure.
with you.
Yeah.
We'll hope to see you soon.
Sooner than later.
Indeed. For Wildwood TV, Greg Koch out.